Welcome to our channel, WiseFlow. Have you ever stood in front of a mirror trying to speak English but nothing comes out? You know the words. You've studied the grammar. But when it's time to speak, your mind goes blank. Your heart races, and all you can think is, what if I make a mistake? If this sounds like you, you're not alone. In today's story, we're going to walk through the real-life journey of someone just like you, a student who felt lost, nervous, and invisible every time they spoke English, but who, step by step, built real fluency, not by memorizing rules, but by changing the way they saw themselves. This is not just a story about learning English. It's a story about rebuilding confidence, about unlocking the power that's already inside you, and about learning to think, feel, and speak in English naturally. So sit back, take a deep breath, and imagine that this story is your story, because it can be. You're going to hear about fear, about silence, about frustration, but you're also going to hear about courage, breakthroughs, and the exact techniques that help this student stop translating and start speaking freely. You'll learn, check mark why, thinking in English changes everything, how small daily habits build big fluency, what to do when fear blocks your voice, and how to train your brain to feel confident, even if you're still learning. This is not just theory. Everything you hear today is something you can use, starting now. So, if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever said, I understand, but I can't speak, if you've ever wanted to break free, then stay with me. Because this is the journey of someone who started where you are and found their voice. Chapter 1. I never thought I could speak English. Have you ever looked at someone speaking English fluently and thought, wow, I could never do that? That's exactly what Amir thought. He was 22, living in a small town, working at a local shop. Every day, tourists passed by, speaking English, confident, smiling, and every day, Amir stayed silent. Inside, he felt a deep shame, not because he wasn't smart, but because he believed this one thought: English is not for people like me. It wasn't just about language. It was about identity, about fear, about believing that fluency was something other people had. And yet, here you are, listening, understanding, growing. Let me tell you what Amir learned that changed everything. He didn't start by memorizing grammar. He didn't start with a perfect accent. He started with one simple shift. He stopped saying, I can't, and he started saying, not yet. And that tiny shift, that's where fluency begins. Chapter 2. The day I spoke my first full sentence. One day, something small, yet powerful happened. Amir was helping a tourist who asked, Excuse me, where is the mosque? And for the first time, he didn't freeze. He didn't panic. He simply said, Go straight, then right. 2 words, clear, confident, enough. The tourist smiled and said, Thank you. Amir smiled back, heart racing. Was it a full conversation? No. Was it perfect English? No, but it was real. It was communication. And that moment, small as it was, proved something huge. You don't need perfect English to speak. You need courage to try. Remember this. Fluency doesn't come from waiting. It comes from using the English you already know, even if it's broken, even if it's messy. Because broken English still speaks. And each small success builds your confidence brick by brick. Chapter 3. My brain refused to think in English. But let's be honest, not every moment was exciting. Some days felt like torture. Amir would try to think in English, but his brain, it rejected the idea. Every sentence started in Urdu, then translated, then restructured. By the time he finished thinking, the moment was gone. Sound familiar? He felt like his brain was working against him, like it refused to help. But here's what changed everything. He stopped forcing English into his mind, and instead he let English flow through his day. He labeled things in English. He talked to himself in English. He watched videos with subtitles. He asked himself questions like, what am I doing now? I am eating. I am walking. I am learning. Slowly, his brain stopped fighting. It started helping. Because your brain can be trained, but it needs gentle repetition, not pressure. So if your mind still thinks in your native language, it's okay. It's not broken. It just needs time and trust. Chapter 4. My First English Mistake in Public. Now let's talk about fear, the fear of making mistakes. Amir's first big mistake. He was helping a customer and said, "You want chicken without clothes?" He meant skinless chicken. The customer laughed. Amir's face turned red. He wanted to run away and never speak English again. But then, something unexpected happened. The customer said, "Don't worry, your English is good." That one sentence, it changed how Amir saw mistakes. He realized something powerful. People don't expect perfection. They appreciate effort. Mistakes are not proof of failure. They are evidence that you are learning. Every fluent speaker has once said weird things. Every confident speaker once got laughed at. But here's the difference. They kept going. So the next time you make a mistake, smile. You are in the process of growth. Chapter 5. When I finally understood a full movie, 6 months later. Amir sat down to watch his favorite English movie. He kept the subtitles off, just to try. He expected to understand maybe 10%. But something strange happened. He understood almost everything. He laughed at the jokes. He followed the story. He even predicted some of the dialogue. Amir couldn't believe it. It didn't happen in one day. It happened because of 180 days of small efforts. And that's the truth of fluency. It's not one big moment. It's a series of silent victories. Reading a menu, understanding a YouTube video, laughing at a native joke, those are the real rewards, and they're waiting for you. Chapter 6. The voice inside my head changed. Perhaps the biggest change wasn't in Amir's tongue. It was in his mind. Before, his inner voice said things like, "You sound stupid. You're too old to learn." Native speakers will laugh at you. But over time, that voice softened. Then it transformed. It started saying, "You're improving. You made progress today. You're brave for trying." And that new voice, that was his true teacher. Because fluency doesn't just live in your mouth. It lives in your mindset. If you believe you can speak, your voice will follow. So today, ask yourself, what does your inner voice sound like? Is it helping you or hurting you? You can change it. And when you do, you'll be free. Chapter 7. How I Practiced Without a Speaking Partner. When I tell people I became fluent without ever living abroad or having a native speaking partner, they look at me in surprise. "How is that even possible?" they ask. And I always smile and say the same thing. My mind was my speaking partner. You see, I discovered something powerful, something most English learners ignore. Your brain doesn't need another person to start speaking. It just needs you to start thinking in English. Every morning before I spoke a single word to anyone else, I practiced in silence. I would look in the mirror and ask, "How do I feel today?" Then I'd answer in English, "I feel tired, but I want to get better." When I walked down the street, I'd name everything I saw in English. Tree, bicycle, a woman wearing a red dress, dog barking. I turned the world into a classroom. At night, I would lie in bed and replay my day in English. What did I do today? What did I learn? What made me smile? No teacher, no textbook, just me and my thoughts. And slowly, something incredible happened. English stopped being a foreign language. It started feeling like my language because it lived inside my thoughts, inside my daily life. If you don't have someone to speak with, don't wait. Start with the one person who will always be with you. You. Chapter 8. Why I Almost Gave Up Learning English. Let me be honest with you. There was a time when I wanted to give up. I had been studying English for 2 years, and yet I still couldn't understand fast conversations. I still made simple grammar mistakes. I still felt like a failure. One day, after a difficult class, I sat alone in my room and whispered, "Maybe I'm just not smart enough for this." Tears filled my eyes. My confidence was gone. I looked at my notebook, filled with vocabulary and grammar rules, and felt tired, empty. That night, I opened my phone and watched a video of a man from Brazil. He was telling his story, how he had learned English by watching cartoons and practicing every single day, even when no one believed in him. He said one thing that changed me forever. Fluency isn't a gift, it's a decision. I paused the video, rewound it, played that line again. Fluency isn't a gift. It's not about being perfect or being fast or being born talented. It's about choosing again and again not to quit. That night, I made a promise to myself. I will learn English, maybe slowly, maybe with mistakes. But I will not stop. And I didn't. Chapter 9. The Teacher Who Changed Everything. I had many teachers over the years. Some were kind, some were strict, some just followed the textbook. But one teacher changed everything. Her name was Ms. Elena. She didn't just teach grammar, she taught belief. One day in class she said, "Today you will each give a 2-minute speech." In English, everyone froze, including me. I wanted to hide. I thought, I don't know enough words. What if I make mistakes? Ms. Elena looked at me and smiled. "Don't worry about mistakes," she said. "Worry about never trying." So I stood up. My hands were shaking. I said something simple. "Hello, my name is Allie. I like reading books. I want to travel the world." When I finished, everyone clapped, and Ms. Elena said, "That was your first English speech, but not your last." That day, something inside me shifted. I felt proud, brave, capable. From that moment, I wasn't just learning English. I was becoming an English speaker, and it all started because one teacher believed in me before I believed in myself. Chapter 10. The day I did a job interview in English. Years later, after all the studying, practicing, and failing, I got a chance to apply for a dream job in a multinational company. The only problem? The interview would be entirely in English. My hands were sweating. My heart was racing. But I remembered all the hours I had practiced alone, all the stories I had told myself in English, all the moments I almost gave up, but didn't. I walked into the room, sat down, and looked the interviewer in the eye. He said, "Tell me about yourself." And I did. I told him about my background, my passion for communication, and my journey of learning English. I spoke with pauses, with emotion, with real confidence, not because I was perfect, but because I was prepared. When the interview ended, the man smiled and said, "Your English is very natural. You didn't memorize answers. You communicated. That's what we need." 1 week later, I got the job, and when I read the email, I didn't cry. I whispered, "I did it. I really did it." Chapter 11. When I helped someone using English. One evening, I was walking through the airport when I saw a lost tourist. She looked confused, holding a map and asking people for help, but no one understood her. She was speaking in English. Suddenly, it hit me. I can help." I walked up to her and said, "Do you need help?" Her eyes lit up. She smiled with relief. I guided her to the information desk. We chatted for a few minutes. She said, "Thank you. You saved my evening." I laughed and said, "A few years ago, I couldn't even speak one full sentence in English." She smiled again and said, "Well, today, you spoke like someone who's been speaking English forever." And in that moment, I realized English wasn't just something I learned. It had become something I could give to others. It became my tool for kindness. Chapter 12. How English Changed My Life Forever. If you had told me years ago that I would speak confidently to strangers, work at an international company, watch movies without subtitles, travel alone to new countries, inspire others to learn English, I would have laughed. But today, all of that is true, because I didn't stop, because I kept going, even when I was afraid, even when I made mistakes, even when no one believed in me. And now, I want to say something to you, the one listening to this. You can do it too, not because you're perfect, but because you're persistent. The journey is long, but every day you think in English. Every time you speak, even with broken grammar. Every time you believe, even for one more day. You are getting closer to fluency. So don't give up. Not today, not tomorrow. Never. Because one day, you'll tell your story too. And someone, somewhere, will believe in themselves because of you. Final message. Your story starts now. You've just listened to my story. But now? It's time to write yours. Maybe you're still afraid to speak. Maybe your grammar isn't perfect. Maybe people have laughed at your mistakes. But listen closely. You're not alone. Every confident English speaker you've ever heard, they were once afraid too. They struggled. They doubted themselves. But they didn't give up. And neither will you. Because inside you, there's a voice waiting to come out. There's a message the world needs to hear. In your English. So start today. Speak one sentence. Think one thought in English. Take one brave step forward. It doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you don't stop. Now, tell me in the comments, what is your English dream? Let's grow together. One word, one story, one brave moment at a time. Subscribe for more real stories, real English, and real transformation. And remember, your fluency journey doesn't start when you feel ready. It starts when you decide.